that are safe zones in this drug war. If he had been raised in the hood, the odds are good he would have been stopped, he would have been searched, he would have been frisked and caught, and far from being president of the United States today, he might not even have the right to vote, depending on the state he lives in. So rather than this being about us helping the criminals, or the criminals are them and not us, let us build a movement that recognizes this is about all of us, the liberation of all of us. But of course, just building an underground railroad and doing what we can to shuttle a few to freedom isn't going to be enough either. Because just as in the days of slavery, it wasn't enough to hide and shelter a few. It wasn't enough to build an underground railroad. You had to be willing to work for abolition. Today, we have got to be willing to work for the abolition of this system of mass incarceration. Got to be willing to do that. And that means ending the drug war once and for all. Ending it. We're done. We spent $1 trillion, destroyed millions of families, and yet rates of drug abuse and drug addiction remain largely unchanged. Most illegal drugs are cheaper and more readily available than ever before. What have we accomplished by waging this war? It is time to shift to a public health model for dealing with drug addiction and drug abuse. People who use drugs into criminals and get them the help that they need and they deserve. But even that isn't going to be enough. We've got to end all these forms of legal discrimination that keep people trapped, no matter what kind of law they have violated in their lives, trapped in a permanent second-class status. We've got to end all these forms of legal discrimination that deny people basic human rights. And last but not least, we have got to shift from a purely punitive approach to dealing with violence and violent crime in our communities to a more rehabilitative and restorative approach. The interest of the victim, the offender, and the community as a whole. So we've got a lot of work to do. And it may seem like too much. It may seem overwhelming. It seems like we couldn't possibly do it all. But if you begin to believe that it's not possible, consider this. All of these rules, laws, policies, and practices that comprise the system of mass incarceration, they all rest upon one core belief. And it is the same core belief that sustained Jim Crow. It's the belief that some of us are not worthy of genuine care, compassion, and concern. And when we effectively challenge that core belief, this whole system begins to fall like dominoes. A multiracial, multi-ethnic human rights movement must be born, one that takes seriously the dignity and humanity of all people. And it's got to be multiracial and multi-ethnic. Because although this drug war may have been born with black folks in mind, it is a war that has destroyed the lives of people and communities of all colors. A white kid who's getting a prison sentence rather than the drug treatment he desperately needs but cannot afford is suffering because of a drug war declared with black folks in mind. And we see the same divisive, get tough politics that birthed the drug war, leading to another prison building boom, this one aimed at suspected illegal immigrants. Happening again. So we have got to be willing to connect the dots and build a multiracial, multi-ethnic human rights movement on behalf of all of us. But before this movement can truly get underway, a great awakening is required. We have got to awaken from this colorblind slumber that we've been in to the reality of race in America. And we have got to be willing to embrace those labeled criminals. Not necessarily all their behavior, but them, their humanness. Or it has been the refusal and the failure to recognize the dignity and the humanity of all people that has been the sturdy foundation for every caste system that has ever existed in the United States or anywhere else in the world. It's our task, I firmly believe, to end not just mass incarceration, not just the war on drugs, but to end this history and cycle of caste in America. Thank you so much for having me.